What's up, guys? iFixit in your face. Don't forget, I have a Facebook that you guys can join if you have questions about anything in the video or anything in regards to anything motorcycle, scooter, fix-it stuff. Join my Facebook. It's an easy way to get in contact with me and get you the help you need. Don't forget to subscribe, smash the like button, all that good stuff, man. I make these videos for you guys. I don't make them for me. You can help me by dropping a subscription. Join the Facebook. I'm telling you, man, join the Facebook. If you're trying to get in contact with me, it's the easiest way to do it. Okay? Don't forget, everything you need is in the description below of the video. Let's get started. What's up? What's going on? All right, so I got a fun one for you guys. We're gonna be talking about motorcycle clutches today. I got a bunch of motorcycles here, and you know, I run my iFixit Facebook group, and I get a lot of people in there talking about clutches and high revving idles. So today I decided to take on the subject of clutches and kind of go over some stuff with you guys. So let me set up the tripod, grab my chair, and we'll have a discussion. Alrighty guys, what's going on? Thought I'd get comfortable for this one. Clutches. There's a lot involved with clutches. The majority of the time when you deal with clutch problems, they're actually a lot simpler than people make them out to be. When you hear somebody say, oh, I need to, you know, you're buying a motorcycle and they say probably needs clutch replacement, and you veer off of buying that bike because you think that a clutch installation is difficult. I would say probably 95% of the time it only takes about an hour to change the clutch with basic stuff in your garage, and there's tons of YouTube videos normally on every bike that's out there at this point showing how to replace a clutch, how to do this, how to do that. I'm sure if you just took your time, you would figure it out pretty fast for yourself. That being said, let's talk about some common issues that I notice with clutches. So clutch baskets can have a high failure rate depending on how you're riding. They can cause a variety of different problems, especially if you're trying to do wheelies and all sorts of other things. I will say this, the faster you do wheelies, the quicker you're just gonna kill your bike. You're gonna kill your bike. You're gonna kill your shocks. You're gonna kill your suspension system. You're gonna kill your clutch basket. It's hard on your engine. It's hard on your crank. It's hard on your... It's just really hard on your bike. If you can refrain from doing power wheelies and stuff of that nature, probably best. I know that some of you guys, you know, hey, ride your ride. I get it, right? Ride your ride. If you want your bike to last a long time, like this old F3 is still on the road today because somebody wasn't beating the living piss out of this bike. It's great to see this old time machine, this 1995 CBR time machine, back on the road again and still wreaking havoc on the pavement, but that's because somebody wasn't wheeling and doing all the crazy stuff and beating the absolute goddamn piss out of the engine and all the components that drive it. So, you know, hey, get a crappy bike if you're going to do wheelies. Keep your good bike for good reasons. Buy a crappy stunt bike for those specific reasons right there. All right, clutches. I see a lot of people install clutches well, I install clutches, right? I've done some clutch videos, and I have people always say things like, I installed my clutch and now it's slipping. It's like, a lot of times what happens is when people loosen the cables and they go to take, you know, the clutch apart, they forget that they have to readjust the clutch now for the new plates. You've added material in there, so now the clutch is not what it used to be, right? The clutch is gonna grab tighter, gonna grab earlier, it's gonna engage at a much sooner time release for the handle. You know what I'm saying? You gotta feel your clutch out, right? So a lot of people will just put it all back together how it was, and then they're like, they pull in their clutch and be like, oh, it doesn't disengage. Why won't my clutch disengage? I can't take it out of first. I can't put it into first. I can't go into second. And that's because your clutch isn't disengaging. You've added a whole bunch of new clutch material in there with new plates and stuff, so now the clutch needs to be adjusted. A lot of times you can just do it at the handle. All you need to do is so if your handle, let's say this is your grip, right? And your clutch handle is out here, right? What's happening is it still has the old adjustment. So you're pulling on it from where it used to engage. And what happens is you're doing this and the clutch is still engaged because it hasn't taken the clutch far enough to disengage it, which means you have to adjust this handle forward more. You need to bring that handle out like this, so when you pull on the clutch, it has all that extra room to disengage the clutch now. right? And then you feel your friction zone for the clutch. That is a big one. A lot of people don't realize that, and then they just get stomped and mad and upset that they even made the attempt to do the clutch. If you're going to install new components, right, like brake pads, you can't just slack brake pads on and put it back on the bike. What do you have to do? You have to reset the caliper. Well, it's the same thing with the clutch, right? You have to readjust the clutch now, okay? The clutch handle and the cable. So that's a big one. I also notice a lot of people talk about sticky clutches, and this can be a variety of different things, but what I notice that it comes down to is, like, you'll let a bike sit, right, for a couple days, and then you go out to ride it, you pull the clutch, and you go to put it in gear, and it'll just take off on you. As soon as it, like, goes into gear, it'll take off on you, right? You put it in gear, and boom, the bike will just take off, and the clutch won't disengage. You'll end up hitting the emergency switch to shut it down. So a sticky clutch can be a variety of different things, okay? The material that they're made out of is very interesting, but it needs to be replaced every once in a while. It's almost like organic material. It's really crazy how clutch material is formed and put on there. But a lot of times I notice that sticky clutches are from sitting with the wrong oil or water getting inside of your oil. People, lack of riding, they make short trips, and then you get a bunch of moisture in there, which causes rust on the plates, and then you have a rust issue. Drain it, replace the plates, all that good stuff, right? Also running the wrong oil. I noticed that if you're running an oil that your bike just doesn't like, you end up with a sticky clutch. It engages really hard all the time, or it won't disengage when the bike's been sitting for a long period of time. Like even 24 hours. I mean, if the clutch keeps all that pressure on there and it's the wrong oil for whatever reason, it'll cause like a seizing process on the plates, and then you go to disengage. And you can see really easily if it's disengaging or engaging by just pulling your oil dipstick plug and having a look in there and pulling on the clutch and seeing if the plates part. If all that happens is the clutch rod moves like this, but all the plates stay stuck together and they don't come apart when you disengage the clutch, then clearly you have a sticky clutch, and it's time to probably change your oil that you're using and change your plates all the way around, that friction and clutch plates, okay? It's cheap, guys, it's cheap. You can buy cheap clutches, man. I know everybody's always like, yeah, don't get a cheap clutch. I have installed tons of $30 and $40 clutch kits, and I've never had an issue with any of them. So if you really want to spend the extra money on $200, $300, $400 on a clutch setup, go for it. You know what I'm saying? But I find most of the time it's not necessary. It really isn't. A big one that I get is, I think my clutch is slipping. I'm going to teach you a couple ways to figure out if that is the case, okay? Clutches have a tendency to slip with longer gears. Okay, so RPM highway riding, for instance, let's say you're driving first, second, and third all seem to be working normal. Then you get into fourth, fifth, and sixth, and you start noticing there's some issues. And I'm going to teach you the easiest way to figure out if your clutch is slipping. Okay, if you want a positive answer if your clutch is slipping, get up to speed, get your bike in fifth or sixth gear on the highway, and pull back on the throttle hard. If that clutch is going to slip, you'll know, because the RPMs will immediately go up. They'll go, you'll hear it go up, and the bike will barely feel like it's going anywhere. It'll just make a whole bunch of rev noise, and the RPMs will come way up, and the bike will feel like it doesn't have much pull. And then when you let off, you'll feel it come back down and kind of grab, and then you'll have power. And if you lead into the power slowly, the bike will slowly gain speed, right? But if you give her too much beans on that long gear, it can't handle the torque that's being put down because the clutch plates are almost disintegrated, or there's an issue with them, or you have burnt friction plates, whatever the case is, bad oil, whoever, whatever, it'll just spin. It'll spin on there, okay? And then you get thermal warping on the plates. So that is the easiest way to tell. If you get on the highway and you get her fourth, fifth, sixth gear and you punch it hard, you're going to know if your clutch is gone, because the RPMs will immediately go up. You'll feel it slip. It'll just, you'll feel it go up. It'll act like it's going nowhere. You know the difference in when your bike was pulling hard and when it's not. So if your RPMs are climbing and the bike's really not going anywhere, right? If your RPMs climb fast and the bike's barely doing anything, then clearly you have a clutch that needs to be replaced. Okay? Here's another one. Noisy clutch. I hear this often. People are like, man, the clutch is making a lot of noise. I want to emphasize on this that sport bikes make a lot of noise just in general. If your engine's not ticking or knocking in some kind of weird way, it's not running correctly. These things run ballistic RPM ranges. Everything in this engine is loose. It's just loose, right? Your clutch is loose. Everything's loose, man. These things run the best when they're making noise. If they're not making noise, I worry. I worry that it's not making noise. I get scared if my bike isn't making noises. Clutch noise is fairly normal. You'll hear everything from, you'll hear stuff like that. You'll hear some little clutch chatter. Sometimes your plates might be just kind of doing a little bit of this if your engine's vibrating. You'll hear all sorts of stuff. And what you don't want to hear is banging when you get on the clutch, right? When you rev it up or you're driving and you feel something on your foot plate, sound like it whacks something inside of the clutch. That's problematic. I've had that happen on a number of bikes, and it ends up being like a broken bolt head that holds in a clutch spring. So when the bolt head breaks, the clutch spring breaks free as well and pops out, and then it's just in there churning around with everything else that's going on. It's whacking components of whacking parts. But outside of that, guys, clutches normally make a good amount of noise. If you're really worried about clutch noise, stop at a shop and say, hey, is this normal? Normally those guys down there can detect average clutch noises, right? They pretty much know a normal functioning clutch to a not normally functioning clutch, if you catch my drift. They've been working on bikes long enough to listen to it, be like, I don't know, man, sounds pretty normal to me. You know, and I could do that. If anybody pulled up here and was like, check this out. Now, if you tell them that you're driving and you feel something internally every once in a while, just whack, thunk, you feel it through your foot plate, that means something in there is broken and it's connecting with other parts. It's being sucked up in the oil and then whacking off and dinging off a bunch of different things. That's dangerous. That is very dangerous. You need to solve that problem immediately. Okay? Clutch kits are literally $30 to $40, okay, on eBay or Amazon. All right? Caltrix. Caltrix is a great company. I've used a ton of their clutches and never had an issue. Ever. All right? Outside of that, guys, that's where things get really complicated. Rebuilding entire clutch systems all the way through the clutch basket and all that, that gets a lot more complicated. That's where it's probably time, if you don't know what you're doing, to go to a shop and let them do it. Replacing your clutch plates and things like that, the simple nature, that's all stuff you can do at your house, right? But outside of that, if you're having deeper clutch issues, that can be very problematic. You know, a lot of people will say, I run into this often, and they don't realize that there's a difference between the clutch having an issue and the gear transmission having an issue. They'll say, my bike won't go into gear, something is wrong with my clutch. Sometimes that's not even clutch related, that's like shifter cog related issues, right? So your shifter point down here, whacking constantly, thunk, 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 thunk through all the gears can definitely get out of alignment, and if it gets out of alignment, it needs to be realigned. Sometimes pins and stuff in there break, and then it doesn't want to find neutral, or it won't come out of first gear, or you know, whatever the case is. That doesn't mean it's clutch related. That could also mean that you have transmission issues. So when you start having shifter problems with your foot plate and you don't think it's your clutch, right, then you probably need to go to a shop and have it diagnosed and looked at properly, because I notice a lot of people that try to fix their own shifter problems end up creating a larger problem or making it way worse than it was to begin with. It's better just to take it to somebody who has the book on hand that can look and see what the specifications for the clutch setting, or for the shifter. My neighbor just blew through on his electric scooter. I didn't even realize he was home. Graham is home. I didn't. Threw me off for a sec. But if you're having shifter problems, right, just take it to a shop. Take it to. Trust me on this. Take it to a shop. They'll make your situation worse. Yes, it's going to cost you money, but if you want your bike functioning correctly and you don't want to take chances, if you're up for it and you're a tinkerer and you're a DIY person, you think you can handle it, pull it apart. Start looking at the shifter cog. If you can get a copy of your manual, right, the fix-it manual for your bike, do that. It tells you all the specifications for the shifter, where it's supposed to line up at, what the measurements are supposed to be, all that. Okay? So I hope that helps you guys. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe, show me some love. I take it all. I take it all. I take GoFundMe. You guys can do whatever you want, man. I'm kidding. But it does feel good. it's nice to know that people love you. You know what I mean? I love when somebody drops a really awesome comment on me. I really do. I get it all the time. I get nice comments from people. They're like, bro, you are God. Thank you. You saved my life. I needed my scooter on the road today, or I needed my motorcycle today, and because of this video, it solved my problem. So shout out to all those people that drop awesome comments. That's why we make these videos for you guys, to help. It's fun. It's fun to help. All right. So anyways, I'll catch you guys on the flip. Toodles.